Hi, thanks everybody for attending. This is Tony Lovelace. I'll be doing the housekeeping and the introductions. I'll be also monitoring the question and answer panel as well as the chat logs responding to that. I can either answer those inquiries directly or bring them up to Mike's attention as we're going along here. This is our second instance of this. We took the month of January off. We are scheduled to be doing this at least through the summer months. We've standardized on the second Thursday of each month from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. So let's dive in here, go over a couple of quick housekeeping items. So again, this is recognizing just the normal flux turnover on our installed base of customers, which we're so grateful for you. We want to make sure that you all are getting new system admins, new agents, the training that they need, leveraging the capabilities and your investment in Issuetrak. We've kind of broken this up into 3 sessions. The first hour, we're going to do an overview of a different aspect of it. In December, it was system admin training. This month, we're going to be spending about 60 minutes talking about the agent roles, how they use Issuetrak. Then we do a 30-minute deep dive on a specific topic. This one, we're talking about issues and custom screens. Our developers have been on a tear lately, introducing new features to the product. And unless you're a total geek and have lots of time, you're probably not reading the release notes. So what we're going to do for 15 minutes is highlight some of these new features that you may not be aware of. Sometimes you have to go to system settings and enable them. So we're going to walk you through some of that. And then we'll wrap up with a final Q&A session. I think we've even got a teaser on next month's new feature in there as well. So I'm one of the account managers here at Issuetrak. I've been here quite a few years, very knowledgeable on the product. I've worked with quite a few of you over the years, but I certainly bow down to Mike Wright. He's the Wizard of Oz. If there's a way to do what your requirements are inside Issuetrak, Mike is certainly the man that can make that happen. Behind the scenes, helping us today, we got Paul Harris from the professional services team as well. These are the product experts, business consultants. So most of you over the years have engaged these two gentlemen from time to time. We appreciate your business. I think that's the end of my introduction. We're going to turn this over to Mike Wright and let him take over from there.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. I'm going to try to stay on track today and get you going so we can keep our 2 o'clocks and probably give you a little bit of a break in between sessions. Go get a cup of coffee, whatever you need, just so you don't have to sit here for 2 solid hours. I am planning on talking for about 45 minutes on agents on that first session. I'll leave about 15 minutes at the end to have questions, and if you need to step away, go ahead and do so. And again, we're going to try to start right on time at 2 o'clock for the next session, and then again at 2:30 for the third session. So trying to be on time for these and respect your time that you're spending with us today. Now, today is agent training basics. I thought as we were trying to go through some of these, we started our first session back in December on administrators, what administrators do, what they can do, how they can change things. Today we're going to talk about agents. The next month's session is going to be on users, so it's going to be a basic user training also. So try to stay within our focus. From that point forward, we'll be talking more about usages in these 1 hour, so how things can be set up, what features are. So kind of stay with us for a while. We're going to be going ahead and giving you some good information about using Issuetrak as well as doing some deep dives and some important features with us. So let's get started today. First thing I wanted to do is, of course, kind of set a basis here. So what is an agent? Now, and agents kind of have responsibility with Issuetrak to do things. They're the people that are going to take your issue, and they're the ones that are going to be assigned to the issue. They're the ones that are going to be next actioned or tasked to the issues. They are going to handle that particular issue from start to finish. They're responsible for updating it. So an agent can also submit for another user. So they take a phone call, they submit the issue, they record the information, and again, they're responsible for resolving it or passing it on to someone else. Now, so what do? They have to communicate with that submitter. So they want to confirm that the issue's been submitted. They want to go ahead and be able to add notes to the issues so we can send emails to them, or so people can log in and check the responsibility. So they also have to research that problem and determine actions that need to be accomplished for that particular issue. So the things that we do here are giving permissions or being able to add items. So you'll have different permissions, and we'll talk about those a little bit as we go forward. But the idea is to document everything. Make sure the user-defined fields are filled in. Make sure all the information is handled properly. Also, you're recording your actions and communications with the customers and others. Again, not only to record actions here, but for report on later. And then close that issue according to your policy. Sometimes the policy is for the agent to close the issues. In some cases, it's the customer closing the issues. So it just depends on what your policy is. So that's your basic responsibility. So first off, what is going to control what you can see? Number one, you've got user permissions. They're assigned to your user profile. They can control what you can see and do within Issuetrak. For example, if you don't have the permission, can see issues submitted by others, you're only going to see things that you're directly involved with. You're not going to be able to see anything that is involved with the other side. So, other things that comes up. Organizations and department memberships can also restrict your access. And I'm going to actually show you as part of that how that works within Issuetrak during our demo today. The next thing is what you can do in Issuetrak. User permissions assigned to your user profile controls what you're allowed to do within Issuetrak, whether you can go in and change a priority, whether you can go in and assign an issue to someone else, even concerning, what reports you can run, what reports you can access. So you've got a lot of control by the permissions. And then during our example today, we're going to go ahead and show you some of the differences in how the site looks according to user permissions and user levels of access, if you want to call them. So what are we going to do? We're going to log into a demo site today. And what I'm going to do is you're going to be a member of an organization called Operations. The operations team handles issues across multiple areas of a business. We're going to submit an issue that is unassigned, and then we can see what people can do and what people can see with that particular issue. So a lot of this is going to be, can you find that issue? And we're going to be using 4 agent accounts, and they're going to have 4 different levels of access, and we're going to show you different areas of what they can do and what they can't do. I'll try to also put in a little tips and tricks type situation in there, show you some things that you can do, show you some ideas of how you can work with Issuetrak as an agent user. And hopefully even administrators can even get ideas about how they can have levels of access. A lot of times, especially with an agent user, we just give them everything, and we let them see everything. Well, that doesn't necessarily always be the best way to handle your particular installation. So what we're going to do today is try to give you some examples of how we level up the permissions here. The site we're going to use today is kind of structured as being a demo site for multiple types of issues that we handle. We've got 4 schools and an education organization representing like a school district. A manufacturing quality area, so it's a manufacturing company that has quality issues. A help desk organization that kind of supports everything else, and an operations team that's working just in operations. For the most part today, we're going to focus on the operations. But this site will be used for other demos as we go forward within Issuetrak, so you can see something. So this particular structure that you see, we'll use multiple times in our webinars going forward. There will be 4 agent users that I'll be logging under. Agent D, which has the least access, to Agent A, which has the greatest access and greatest capabilities within Issuetrak. It's going to be nice to be able to do that so you can see the different levels of access. So here we go. Agent D. Our Agent D is our basic guy. He's kind of the newbie to the team. He's a person that has just been started, and we don't want to give him a lot. So it's almost just like a standard user. He has access to knowledge base and my issues. He can search and submit issues. No permissions to them to go into reports, no projects capability, very, very limited. His agent permissions is we want him to be able to be assigned to issues and to be assigned to next actions. Essentially, you're going to receive work, but you're not going to be able to pick your work. He's going to have in data access, can view and add private notes and private UDFs. So they can go in and update private information. In the issues, you can view the assigned to information in issues and email notifications. That's it. Workflow, you can be assigned a task. And in issue maintenance, they can select a substatus and view the quick picks. Not a lot they can do. Notice they do not have can see issues submitted by others and do not have the capability to submit issues on others' behalf. So when you're talking about quick picks, they're only going to be submitting quick picks on their own behalf. So let's switch over, and I'm going to click this little white area and open up Issuetrak. Let's expand that out a little bit. And first thing I'm going to do is exactly what I said. I'm going to submit an issue as a member of the operations team. We have an accountant. We're going to sign in as the accountant. And when we sign as that accountant, we're going to submit an issue. So we're going to go to Submit Issue. And if I can get there, I'm going to use this, a quick pick. And I am going to do Support Incident. So here he has an office in Chicago, Illinois. That's its location. You'll see it's an incident summary. So we've got a problem. And let's make this a little bit bigger. How does that work? Then you can really see I can't spell. Details of the problem. How many of us have received calls like this one? Cannot print. Problem with my printer. It's an incident. We can subtype it if we have it, or go subtype, so he has capability of doing that. And hit nothing, not much else. Can't change status, can't add substatus, can change priority because the customer can go ahead and say whether it's high or not. So this guy can go ahead and say it's a high, medium, low. So it's a medium problem. Submits issue. And then, of course, we're going to now have issue number 1306. So we're going to write that down just so we can keep up with it. All right. So now, you'll notice on the left-hand side, not a lot of options. Even when you go to My Issuetrak, you'll see here on Home, not a lot of options. So let's log out. Now we're going to log back in, and this time we're going to use Agent D. And we're going to sign in as Agent D. Now in Agent D, again, you're seeing what you normally see. In this particular case, our home page is the My Issues page. We have the ability to see different tabs in here: Global Issues, Summary, Submitter, Assignee, Next, Assigned but not Next Action, Next Action, Task Assignee, Task Available. And of course, as the summary here, you're seeing as the assigned to, you're getting 3 issues in here. But 1306 is not one of those issues. You'll also notice on the left-hand side that you're not getting a ton of options here. You're just about like the submitter we just had. They have the My Issues page, the My Settings page, the Submit page, the Search, and the Knowledge base. Now, the Search Issues page, we'll go there first. If I want to search for issues, of course, what can I see? Since I don't have can see issues submitted by others, the only thing I can search for really is issues, or even I can search for, let's hit the search page. The only things I can search for are things that I'm directly involved with. So when I go ahead and just do a quick search, I would see only issues that I have been assigned to, which is not much in here, or I submitted. And you see most of these are because they're all assigned to Agent D. When I scroll down, you'll see normal items in here, searches, issues in here, but one thing you will notice is that you do not have capabilities to search by other organization. You do not have capability to search by submitter or assigned to. You don't have enough level permissions to search outside of your own issues. A little bit limited to which most of us see. Knowledge base will give you your standard knowledge base, and that's going to be pretty much the same for everyone. You're not seeing much difference on here unless something was restricted, and in this particular case, not a lot is restricted in the knowledge base. When you go back to the My Issuetrak up here, and you look at the options for My Settings, the pages that you can select for your default home page are even being controlled by your user permissions. You have standard and redirect. You do not have the ability to change your class or set a default class. You have your personal information. When you submit that issue, remember, you didn't get a whole lot. We're going to look at the Submit Issues page from this user. It looks just about like the one we just saw. So if a user wants to submit an issue as this agent user, he still can't change the user profile. They can't submit for someone else. He can't change an organization record. All he can do is submit an issue just like the accountant did. Matter of fact, he can't even change priority. He doesn't get ability to work with tasks. So a lot less capabilities is because we want to control what that user can do. So let's go out now and log out. And we'll come back over to our agent profile again, and we're going to kick it up a little bit. We're going to go in as Agent C this time. We're not going to add any additional menus, but we're going to add a few permissions. For example, can assign issues, can assign next action, having the ability to, of course, go in and view tasks and issues. They can add notes to close issues, edit issues, add labor notes. They can go in and change priority. They can change severity. They can view the assets, and again, they can run saved searches. So a little level up here. So what does it look like? Let's go ahead and log in as Agent C. So we did D, now we're doing C. We're logging in. Now, when we look at Agent C, this list is pretty much the same, except now we can see the unassigned issues. Now, because this particular user only has the ability to see issues that they are directly involved with, how are they seeing unassigned issues? They're not assigned, and when we look at the list, they didn't submit them either. In order to access these particular issues, I made these for the issue type user access. And in user access, I added an email distribution list that was associated with that issue type and had Agent C be a member of that particular group that was allowed to see those issues. Because these issues were submitted underneath the organization operations, we allow this user to see the issues because they're a member of an email distribution list that's underneath that organization. So they can see that issue. So now this particular user does have can assign. So they can assign an issue. So if I click here to 1101 and I look, where's the assignment capability? I don't have it on this issue because I am accessing it as an email distribution list member. I only have the capability of adding an attachment or adding a note. Well, I would like to be able to assign to this issue. There's actually two ways of doing so. Number one, if I go to the unassigned issues queue on the left, I can go in, check the box, and assign that issue directly to me, just like that. That issue is now assigned to me. If I want to assign that issue to someone else, assign this issue, which is still left out here, I can go in here and I can work it a different way. I can go in here and add a note. And because I have the permission can edit, I get the full edit page. And since I have can assign, I can click this option here. And I can assign that issue to anyone in the operations area. And you see there's plenty of them in here. So now the issue can be assigned to someone else to be taken care of. For example, we'll go back up here to the top, and we're going to set this to myself, Agent C. Add additional updates, change the information, and off and running. Now, if I go back to home, of course, both of those issues should now be under my assign queue. So that's actually all three that were originally unassigned. Now the unassigned queue is empty. There's nothing else left. All of my issues that were added to my view from the email distribution list have now been added to my work queue, where I have full capabilities to do whatever I need to. So what else has changed? Of course, now I'm getting unassigned queue. Search and submit is still there. Did my settings change? Not really. Same capabilities. It's just, of course, potentially could have a different menu option. Submit issues, has that changed? Not a lot. Quick picks at the top, substatus. Again, no caller, no organization. I can't submit in someone else's behalf here. Subject, full description, issue type, priority, severity, and ability to do the assignment. So this user still has capabilities of working with issues and still has the ability to submit an issue. You just can't submit it for someone else. Now, search issues, did that change much? Same pretty much as you saw before. You don't have that big block of items for being able to look at user roles. So that still stays limited because of the permissions that we're granting to this user. So let's make another change. Let's come back over to our Agent C, and now we're going to go to Agent B. Now this is the biggest jump. In this particular case, I'm working kind of from going there from users who can see limited view to a more standard user. This is more of an agent user who can do a lot within the site. They're going to get the calendar, the dashboard, projects, and reports. They're going to be able to submit on someone else's behalf. They're going to go ahead and be able to access and maintain projects. They're going to be able to add private notes and private user-defined fields. They're able to view selected quick picks and private quick picks. They're going to be able to view issues submitted by others. That's the big change there. All knowledge-based permissions, they're going to add, edit, and delete special function tables if it's being used. And remember, of course, some of these permissions are related to options in the site that may or may not be turned on in your particular instance. Some things I'm mentioning may not be familiar to you as an agent because your site does not use that feature. We are going to give this user the ability to change your password, can add and edit tasks. In addition to that, they're going to be able to close issues, to modify the open and close dates, and modify SLA response times, enter billing items, substatuses. They can go in now and run report writer queries and reports and run the summary reports. So it's a big jump in capabilities here, but I thought it was a good time. I didn't want to I wanted to make a big jump here because really it's about the one permission. If I had to say anything, it's about this permission here. This is the big one, can view issues submitted by others. And of course, I'm bouncing around here. But that particular permission is the big one when it comes to granting view access in Issuetrak. That permission is now going to allow us to see all the issues that are submitted under the operations organization. So let's take a look at it. Again, let's log out. Let's go ahead and select now Agent B. So when I log in as Agent B, things will change a little bit. Those menus are going to change. Now we have access to the dashboard. Now we have access to the calendar, the knowledge-based projects, and reports. So we have greater access in the menus. Here, you notice that, of course, you've got the same situation, except now you have reports, and you do have the unassigned access because now you can see all of the issues that are unassigned that are submitted under the operations organization. You also notice that this particular list changed a little bit. Well, in the My Settings area, there's actually two separate views that you can use in your My Issues page. The two users previous to this used what's called the standard view. The standard view, when you go back, and I'll set it back, has a different set of columns. So when I go to My Issues and I look at the columns that are available to me, this is what we were seeing before. An issue number, when it was open, when it was submitted, it's showing it's not assigned, of course, subject, priority, last activity, substatus, and required by date. When I go back to My Settings and I change this to an expanded view and go down and do Update, the columns change. You're actually given a few more options in here. Now, you will have one taken away from you. The substatus does drop off of here, but here I'm getting things that could be very important to me. For example, here you've got status of open, the open time, the open date. You've got the organization, so if you're in a multi-organization site, this may be very important. You've got both assigned to and next action. So if you're using the optional capability of next actioning issues to others, you'll be able to see the column here. And more importantly, if you're using service level agreements, you have the ability to have the severity applied here. And remember, since each of the column headers here is able to be sorted, you'll be able to sort that data as you're using it. So very nice change in here. Of course, you'll also see, of course, the number of tasks completed and tasks available on this issue and the escalations, along with the other symbols and legends that you see down at the bottom: global, attachments, compliance information. Also remember, this page now refreshes. Some of your older customers remember when this was a manual option. Now the refresh rate off the dashboard now affects the My Issues page, so it will go ahead and click and go ahead and refresh. Another thing that's an optional item, and it has to do with the user permission, is the ability to do request next issue from queue. If you have an unassigned list and your issues are going to an unassignment list, then you can use the request next action queue to go into the unassigned queue and pick the next issue and assign it directly to you. It's 1108. In this particular case, what happened was that this issue was submitted and was become assigned, and then it became unassigned. So now what happens by clicking that particular item, it goes out and it looks at the priorities of the issues. And it goes usually from critical down to low. It has to do with the sort orders that you're adding to your site. So if your critical is number 1, it's going to look for number 1 first, and then highs would be number 2, medium 3, low would be 4. Well, it wants to work all of the number 1s first. So it does things called first in, first out. Essentially, it's looking at the submitted date. The first issue in is the first issue out. So it's going to continue to work through all of the option 1s, the critical issues, before it moves to the highs. So it's going to try to clear all of those if you keep using this. The capability works really well because it doesn't allow you to cherry pick your issues you want to handle. It kind of blindly goes ahead and works that. That's a way even that a user that doesn't have the ability to see other issues, if they have that capability, it'll still assign an issue to them. So let's take a look at this. Left-hand side, take a look at all of the different options now, of course, that we have to work this issue. Since we're at Agent B here, you have a lot of things that you can do. Of course, you can go ahead and view the issue. You can add a note. If you happen to be using our optional billing line items, then you can add a line item that represents a billing time and even a value if you need to. You can add your attachments. You can change assignment. You can change the next action assignment. You can edit. You can close. You can create a knowledge base article. Now, some of us use this pretty heavily. Some of us may not use it at all. But if you have the knowledge base enabled within Issuetrak, then the user at this level can create knowledge base articles. Essentially what they do is they click on Create Knowledge Base Article, and the information from the issue will then push over to a knowledge base article. Subject will become title. You'll have a lot of the information within the body of that, or the description of that particular issue, pushed into the article information. It'll also give you a reference number back to the original issue. So when you hit click on Save here, it goes ahead and shows you, of course, the information. Now, if I click back to 1108, there's even a capability in the custom screens to actually have a link from the article to the issue and from the issue back to the article. And you can even create more than one knowledge base articles related to a particular issue. In some cases, I've seen customers have 3 or 4 knowledge base articles that have been created off of one issue. And then they can be listed here on, as long as you have the knowledge base articles link in the custom screens. Other things you can do. You can create a calendar event. So I can go in here and I can create an event, and I'll say follow up. And in the follow up with user capability, I'll come in here and I'll say, okay, when I want to do this, so I'll put another date in here and I'll say, okay, we're going to do this on the 19th. So we're going to have an event that's going to be on the 19th. It's going to start and end on the 19th. And then I'm going to say this is going to be happening at 3 p.m. So now I've got a calendar event that is going to be assigned to Agent B. I can send an email notification to remind me that this event is going to occur, and I can put a reminder on Issuetrak that will occur, let's say 1 day previous, and hit Save. Now I've created a calendar event. Again, I'm going to go back to issue number 1108, and I'll have that event. The calendar event now has been created on here. If I go back here, I can also do things like clone and copy the issue. Sometimes, and again, this is an optional capability just like calendar is. Clone and copy can be removed completely, or it can be for agents only. But it gives you the ability to say, this is an old issue, I need to create a brand new issue based off the old one. I can do the issue change log if issue auditing is enabled. If issue auditing is enabled, then I can track the changes made on that particular issue. What area was changed? What's the old value of the change? What's the new value? Who modified it, and when that modification was made? In some cases, we have global issues turned on. Global issues is turned on. It has an ability to promote an issue to a global. When I promote an issue to a global, then I can associate it with another issue. For example, I'm going to hit search here, and it's going to show you the issues that are already out there. So if I want to associate this issue to 1073, I can do that. I click on 1073, and then this issue now is associated with 1073. If I was to go to 1073, then what would happen is I would see that this issue is now being linked back to 1108. Updates made to 1073 would cascade down to 1108, including adding a particular note, even closing the issue if I needed to. If I wanted to unlink it, then you can go actually into 1073, and we'll do that. So I'll use this little search option at the top, and I'll go to 1073, and I'll go to Global Issue Options. This is where the actual issue was added, and I'll unlink 1108. So when I go to 1108, it's now not shown as a global issue. To create a global, you click on Promote to Global. I want to see all users with access to this issue, and I want to see all users in all organizations have access to it. We're going to go ahead and when we link it, we're going to synchronize this issue here according to these areas, synchronize the issue type, the priority, the substatus to assign to in the next action. And on the change side, we're going to also include note and close. So when we change values on this global issue, it's going to update it there. When we have one that's actually out there, it has the same issue type, we're going to go ahead and link that issue also. So first thing we're going to do is promote and create the global. Second thing we're going to do is link. You'll now see at the bottom that that issue has now been linked. You can even search for others in case there's other items in there that you want to add. So that issue, when I go back to home page, should now be in the global issues item, which has now gone from 4 to 5. And there's 1108 right there. Optional feature, it can be turned on in the features option, features page underneath system settings by your system administrator. So that shows you calendar, knowledge base. Also, this user has access to projects. So here's another option that's different. The projects option then gives you the ability to put a project identifier on a particular issue, then associate other issues with it. Because this particular user can manage projects, that means they can go in and create projects, they can go in and access it. But the thing they can also do is they can then view any issue that's associated with any project. So they can see those issues in the software. They don't even have to be a member, they get it through the user permission. They also have access to reports. The ability, of course, to run the summary reports. The ability to use the Save Search functionality and to use the report writer capability. So they can go in and create reports and they can share them with others. Queries and reports both. Another thing that you'll do is the Search Issues page has now fully developed. It has all the options here to do your searches by users. So lots of options in order to work the issues here. Also, of course, you can create saved searches and share them with other users in your organization. So we've worked through a lot of the different capabilities with this user. I've got one more user that I have not logged in, so I'm going to log out, and I'm going to discuss the final agent user in here, which is going to be Agent A. Basically, all the features that have been granted to Agent B are being granted to Agent A, but they've been given some capabilities on the administration section. They can maintain and access the billing module functionality. They can access and maintain the asset management functionality. They can access and maintain the service modules. Now, these are all modules sold separately. They may or may not be available to you. The final one is access and maintain users in this user's organization and its additional organization. That's a very powerful little feature, and I'll show you how it works. So first, we're going to log in as Agent A. There he is, Agent A, we're going to log in under. The first thing you're going to notice is now this user has administration and a module. Administration, wait a minute. They are not an agent. They're not administrative. They don't have can administer the site. They don't have system administration. How do they get administration? It's because one of the capabilities says they can manage users. I can click on users, and you'll notice that there's not a lot of capabilities here. It's just working with users. Notice here I can edit users that exist, but I cannot delete them. I can go in here under the accountant user, and I'll do an edit. Normally, when you edit a user account as an administrator, you get the ability to make modifications and changes like you see at the top. So you can change options here, change data. They can add group memberships. But wait a minute. You can't add any user permissions to this user. You can't modify a user's permissions. That keeps you from granting permissions that are greater than your own. You can go in and update information in here. And you can go in and add a user to a group. These groups have all been set up by essentially the parent organization for the site. If you happen to be in the Issuetrak support site, it would be Issuetrak would set up each of the groups for each of our customer companies. And you would be able to add a user to that group, just like this. I can add a user to these particular groups because they're in the operations organization, but that's all I can do. So the control of what permissions can be granted is controlled by the parent organization. But it gives you the ability to go in and correct or update user records within your organization without having to be an administrator in the site. It can be a very powerful feature. You can even give it to, say, a customer organization if you happen to be working in a support site that's doing customer support. You can have that customer go in and then they can add users for their own company, but they cannot view any issues. They can't do anything outside their own organization. Now, there's one exception to that, and I'm going to log out for just a second and show you the exception. I'll log back in as myself because I am the administrator of this site. The exception is the additional organizations. Here I'm a full administrator. I'm going to the organizations area. And in this particular case, I'm going to the education organization. In the education organization, I'm allowed to see the 4 other schools that we have set up for the school district. So education would be the school district, and then these are the 4 schools in the district. They all have separate organizations. A person who is in the education organization could update the users at Adams, Big Pine, Coral Shores, and Key Largo, because they're an additional organizations that are kind of underneath the education organization. They could not go in and do help desk. They could not do operations. So the structure is set up to allow them the ability to work the users and edit the users without giving them a lot more. Now I'll go back and log out one more time. And I'll go back in as Agent A. And of course, the other options that you have is the ability to go into the modules up here that you see, so you can manage the billing module, manage the surveys, and manage the asset management modules. Those are topics for another time. Now, my time is getting short, and I wanted to give you all some time to ask some questions for me. And I also wanted to give you time to take a little bit of a break before we begin again at 2 o'clock, where I'm setting up issues and custom screens. So, Tony, we got anything that's come up that people would like to ask? And if you've got anything, just give it a chat.
Yeah, I've been answering some of the questions that came in. Jennifer pointed out that when you're on the page you're on, the My Issues view, and you toggle between the standard and expanded also drops the required by date. So,
thank you for pointing that out, Jennifer.
The projects. Do you have do you have a minute to do just a 2-minute overview on the projects? The gentleman was asking about that.
Okay. Project capability gives you the ability, of course, to link an issue to a project. A lot of times it could be a small project. I don't want to go and oversell it as being a project management like Microsoft Project. It's not. It's designed for small projects. So we'll look at this CapEx one. We had a customer that we work with. He was interested in tracking some of his CapEx projects, and he wanted to go ahead and add them. So we added one in here. It's a phone system upgrade, capital expenditure in here. We put an ID in here. And then I'm going to edit this so you can see the capabilities better. So essentially, we're doing an upgrade. There's also an exclusive capability so we can restrict access to this to project members. But there are accesses still users can get to those issues because of issue distribution list or system administrator rights. So you have to be careful about using this in order to restrict the access so that you don't have another way to get into these issues. Once it's restricted, only project members can see the issues though. You've got capability of associating it with an organization. You have the ability to go in here and take a look, of course, of date open and date closed. Then you can go in here, of course, and have the member list and an email distribution list. So you can be a member of a project but not receive email on the project. You receive emails, and as issues are created and added to the issues, it'll go ahead then and give you that capability of also getting an email on updates like notes. At the bottom, you'll see that there's 4 issues that are actually associated with this project. 2 down here are closed. You'll even notice time on here for labor hours. 2 are open. So what happens is the time that's on here can be associated with the actual labor hours that's on the issue. So what we do is we can roll up labor hours from individual issues and put them into the actual hours on the issue. Now, some of you are using labor hours, some of you aren't, but it gives you a great way of getting the actual labor associated with a project based off your estimations. You can also put dollars in here, of course, but you have to do that manually. You can create an issue directly from the project. So, for example, I wanted to create an issue to control this project. I would create an issue. If you're on the issue record, you can create a project from an issue also. So it gives you both options. I'm going to take a look at this particular issue here. One of the things that's important for us when we're trying to work with projects is to track exactly how progress is. In this particular case, I'm using our task functionality in order to represent my milestones. As I complete tasks, I'm completing milestones on my project. So this gives me control and knowledge about where I am with this particular project. With our new capability in Issuetrak of having the ability to put a hyperlink or to associate an issue with multiple issues, using our new related issues type capability in user-defined fields. It now gives you a nice capability for you to be able to use a project issue like this and have a link to other issues within Issuetrak that's very, very specific. It doesn't necessarily have to be for the project, but it could be that this issue represents a step in that project and it's now being able to be shown. I'm going to show that in the new features capabilities today. So be aware that that is one of the things that we're going to show is a new capability of Issuetrak. It's very recent. Does that kind of give you a basic overview? I mean, I did this kind of quick because, again, time is running short today. There is some good information. Paul pointed out to us that we do have a track tip that's related. It's kind of a one feature that's a PDF out there that we can also send you if you request it. So we'll try to send that out to you so you can get some additional information on projects there too.
Mike, I sent the track tip, and I posted in the answers the track tip as well as the Help Center article. Just two great resources we have available. Mm-hmm. So can you show the Help Center link with its relative content? I'm not using the right word, but it takes you to there for the page you're on.
Anytime that you're in Issuetrak now, again, depending on how long you've been with Issuetrak, we have customers who've been there a long time, but you can always use this little Help Center link. In the old days, we would always be opening up a kind of an associated file, but these days our Help Center is actually out on our web. So we log into the site. If we want to look up projects, then we can go ahead and look up projects. And then it'll show you all issues related to projects, and it'll give you a list of them. Here's about projects standing at the bottom. You click on it, and it goes ahead and gives you information. And because this is all online, it's always going to be updated that information. You should be able to get up-to-date information about any of the particular features within Issuetrak. You can go in here and search for information such as like the API. If I want to look for information related to an API, we can go ahead and look up the documentation for that too. If you don't know how to get here, if you're outside of Issuetrak, one of the things that you can always do is do it this way too. Go to the main Issuetrak website. Go to the Resources tab when you get there. And under Resources, you'll see capabilities, the Help Center and Training. Click there. It gives you the ability to go into the Help Center and see different articles also. I didn't go where I thought I was going to end up. Usually when you click on resources, you go here. I think I clicked too many times. This gives you to the Help Center, the full admin guide, the user guide, and even some training links that Paul and I have developed over time to help you with some of the features within Issuetrak. And this is going to download as a PDF, by the way. This will be links to blog articles, best practices, and some videos that may be out there for you, including a terms dictionary in case you don't know how to talk Issuetrakese.
Hey, Jennifer.
Okay.
Hey, Mike. Quick one. We do need a break. We need to get you a cup of coffee and let people stretch their legs for a second. Jennifer, I'll work with you offline. I saw a question come in, and I'll continue to respond to the questions I got behind. So sorry for interrupting, Mike. If you're good, we're gonna pause this and then regroup and dive in right at 2 o'clock Eastern time, if that's okay.
Sounds great to me. I want to thank everyone who attended today. We really appreciate your time. And again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to Paul, myself, or to Tony. We'd be always happy to answer any other questions that come up. Just reach us at our main site.